school with Mason.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order with a statement of proper notice. Notice of this meeting has been posted on the municipal bulletin board and forwarded to the Hopewell Valley News, the Trentonian, and the Hopewell Express on January 6, 2025, in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Roll call, please.
Committee Member Kaczynski.
Here.
Committee Member Purandare. Uma. I know
I'm here.
Okay. Thank you. Committee Member Ruger.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Chait.
Here.
And Mayor Peters Manning.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Tonight we will start with a proclamation for Black History Month, and I have Ms. Purandare is going to get us started.
Yeah, just one sec. One sec. Here we go. Whereas the history of New Jersey and the history of our nation are inextricably linked to the heritage of our country's Black Americans, and whereas in the beginning of our nation's history, a large majority of the Black Americans were enslaved, and yet many such as William Stiles, a local African American war veteran and the badge of merit recipient, participated in the struggle for the American independence with his life in order to build the society based upon the ideal of liberty, prosperity, and self-government. And whereas the history of Black American in the story of extraordinary individuals such as Friday Trueheart, Ross Blackwell, and Sylvia Dubious, who were born enslaved but achieved their freedom, and along with the William Stiles, a free man, were among the first African American to settle in the southern mountain region and raise families whose descendants would remain in the area. And
whereas the history of African Americans has not been accurately transcribed, as the history has either been diminished, distorted, or deleted. Black Americans have served in every theater of war. In the Civil War, 88,000 New Jerseyans participated, with African Americans numbering upward of 2,900. From our region, soldiers such as Ira Bergen, Raymond Bergen, George Bolden, Lewis Fisher, William Boyer, Charles Jennings, Samuel Montgomery, John Naz, Tracy Peterson, George Reasoner, William Reasoner, Samuel Ridley, James Schenck, Jonathan Stives, Aaron Trueheart, George Williamson, and John Van Zandt enlisted in the United States Colored Troops in the 127th, 41st, 29th, 24th, 14th, 11th, 8th, and 3rd Regiments, and were eyewitnesses to historical events such as President Abraham Lincoln's second inauguration, Lee surrendered to Grant at the Appomattox Courthouse, and were survivors of the bloody Battle of Olustee, which suffered some of the heaviest regimental losses recorded in the Civil War. And
whereas the spirit of competition in athletics has played an integral part in the history of our region because of Black Americans such as Paul Arnold, a local African American man who started with the Pennington All-Stars and went on to play against well-known athletes, both black and white, and became a member of the Brooklyn Royal Giants, the Newark Browns, and the Newark Dodgers, which became part of the Negro National League. And whereas while the history of Black Americans is also the story of countless nameless heroes who brought to our shores who endured lives of bondage and oppression, the deprivation of their civil rights, and the ravages of bigotry and racism, it is a history for which the most glorious chapters have yet to be written, as Black Americans contribute in full measure to the fulfillment of the American promise. And
whereas the people of New Jersey and this nation should study the history of Black Americans through vehicles such as the book If These Stones Could Talk, written by local residents Beverly Mills and Elaine Buck about the African American presence in the Hopewell Valley, Sauerland Mountain, and surrounding regions. The Sankofa Collaborative, comprised of the 5 New Jersey organizations, the 1804 Consultants, Grounds for Sculpture, the New Jersey Historical Society, and the Stoutsburg Sauerland African American Museum, and the William Trent House Museum. and the Amistad Commission so that we may learn from its stories of heroism, struggle, and achievement. And whereas, in order to commemorate and honor the heroic and significant contributions of Black Americans residents of the Hopewell Valley throughout history, the township's governing body has directed that new roads within the two neighborhoods will be named after these prominent individuals, including Aaron Trueheart, Louis Fisher, Cora Bergen, Samuel Sutphin, Leona Stewart, Paige Hoagland, and others. And
whereas on April 7th, 2005, this state adopted PL 2005, Joint Resolution Number 2, which designated the month of February of each year as Black History Month in recognition of the many accomplishments of Black Americans and their contributions to the history of this nation and state, and to provide the citizens of this state with an annual opportunity to pay tribute to the sacrifices and accomplishments of Black Americans. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township of Hopewell, County of Mercer, and State of New Jersey, the Township recognizes February as Black History Month in the State of New Jersey and acknowledges and pays tribute to the bravery, sacrifices, and accomplishments of Black Americans. The Township urges all citizens of this state to reflect upon the many contributions that Black Americans have made to this state and nation, and to participate in the activities and programs that are held in observance of Black History Month in accordance with PL 2005 Joint Resolution Number 2. Thank you, and I hope some of you have had a chance to look at some of the, if you drive through any of our new neighborhoods, you'll see these new street names, and it's really exciting. So thank you all. Now, we do not have any additional items for the meeting agenda, and so with that, we'll move to committee member and staff reports. We just had a meeting last week, so I imagine this will be shorter.
You're correct, Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Mr. Seeberger.
Ditto, nothing to report since last meeting.
All right, Mr. Goodell.
I do have something to report.
Okay.
As you know, you adopted your affordable housing resolution, setting your number on Monday, and on Wednesday we filed a declaratory judgment action, which is required by the new administrative regulations that are guiding the program. And so we will know by the end of February whether that number stands or whether it is being challenged. If it's being challenged, then the program has 1 month until the end of March to reconcile the number and tell us what the number ought to be. And we will participate in that if it is challenged.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Troutman.
Thank you. Yes, so since the last meeting, I have a couple things to report. That the Finance Office has completed our annual filing of our 1099s out to our vendors and met that deadline as required, as well as filing of our annual debt statement.
Thank you. Ms. Fenton-Newman.
I have nothing to report.
All right, so we'll move to committee reports, starting with Ms. Parandare.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I have a couple of announcements here. The blood pressure screening will be held at Senior Citizen Center on February 6th from noon to 1 p.m. And visit the township webpage for additional details. And I also would like to communicate is that the Hopewell Valley Green Team and the Hopewell Township is conducting a metal recycling at the Public Works Building on February 8th. And also there is additional information available on the Township webpage, what is accepted for the metal recycling. And I would like to thank for the Green Team and the Hopewell Township staff for taking initiative in this. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you. Mr. Ruger.
Thank you. The Citizens Equity Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet this Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Mr. Kretinsky.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick updates. We met last week regarding one of our historic properties and adaptive reuse of that property, so I'll have more details for the committee in executive. We are also continuing our 2025 budget planning. We have another meeting next Monday at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I first just want to acknowledge and thank Public Works for their response to the weather event last night. And I also want to acknowledge last Thursday, the Tourism and Economic Development Advisory Committee had their business listening session right here in this room. And so I just want to thank all of the businesses, community organizations, and complementary organizations that came out. And it was really a truly inspiring time learning from local businesses what's working, what are some of the great things, but also more importantly, what are some of the ways that we can help them grow. Lots of great things coming out of that, from really good low-hanging fruit, some really impactful things, but also some broader projects. And so excited to chat more about that. And again, just appreciate everyone who came out.
Thank you, and I have nothing to report this evening. So with that, we will move to our first public section. We do have An exciting resolution coming up just after the public session for our crossing guards. So we will, you're more than welcome to come talk in public comment, but we will also talk about that later on in the agenda. So if you have anything to speak about any topic, please come to the microphone, state your name, where you live, limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you are on Zoom, please raise your hand and Ms. Fenton-Newman will call on you.
Good evening, Jim Bird, Hopewell Township. I want to commend you on your 34% reduction. I hope that it holds with the state. That's ideal. I think there's another important factor that coincides with this, and I think everyone in Hopewell Township and everywhere throughout the state of New Jersey is in regards to the affordable housing situation that we're confronted with 2025 to 2035. I don't know if you've had the opportunity really to look at the amendment that is before us at this time. And I know that we kind of tunnel our vision about Hopewell Township, but we have to be able to expand this to touch all parts of the state of New Jersey, because hopefully everybody is doing the same thing. And that's moving the affordable housing program differently than what it is currently. And if you look at the information, it'll tell you exactly how it was done. And that was done by the New Jersey Institute of Local Government Attorneys. And they put it together and did a phenomenal job. Hopewell Township would become 120 instead of what you're currently talking about. If it goes through, you're talking 362 affordable housing units. I think that everyone would agree that we would much rather have 120 affordable housing units than 362. But the important thing is this: you as the elected members of the township have to go forward and tell the legislators locally, such as Senator Turner, Assembly Member Reynolds Jackson, and Assembly Member Varelli, that you approve this amendment, and ask them to support it and also sponsor this amendment, because that's what makes this work. If we don't do this, and if other townships and municipalities in New Jersey do not do this, this will go by the wayside. Now, I agree that there's many, many other steps that have to go beyond this, but it's important that you do it. And I ask each one of you personally to answer me if you're going to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else that would like to speak, please come to the podium, or if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. I'm not seeing anyone in the room. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Erin Groger, could you please lower your hand, or I'm sorry, could you please unmute? Thank you. Erin?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Okay, my name's Erin Grover, 26 Dublin Road, Pennington.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I am a parent at Bear Tavern Elementary School, and I attended the board meeting last week regarding some upcoming budget cuts. And honestly, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the enrollment that's taking place at Bear Tavern. Right now, our numbers are skyrocketing. Just a little recap. At Bear Tavern, the numbers are 24 students, and 25 students in kindergarten, whereas Tolkien is at 17 students, 18 students, and I believe 18 students. All of this is published, obviously, on board docs. I'm extremely concerned about the growing enrollment at I went to the board meeting and they told me to come here. So here I am to ask what's happening with the pilot program. They looked at us and said, you need to go to your township officials. So I'm here representing, asking you, could you please tell us what's happening with that pilot program? Could you please help us as Bear Tavern families understand why our school is the only school feeling the effects right now? And how can you help us figure this out? Because we want to work together and we want the best for our kids. And in this moment, class sizes matter and our kids are suffering. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on Zoom?
No one else, Mayor.
Okay, with that, I will close the public comment section, and I will start with affordable housing. We are monitoring the legislation, and we did put language in our resolution approving our number that if any legislation changes, we will be able to change our number to comply with any new legislation. Right now, I believe it is still not in committee yet. So, Mr. Goodell, do you have any? It has one sponsor, I believe.
My knowledge is it's got one sponsor. It may have been referred to committee, but I don't think it is a sponsor in the assembly.
Okay, thank you. And also the number is 348, but there will be, our number to be built, I'm confident will be less than 200 because we are working currently on extending affordability controls in Brandon Farms, and those, there's more than 100 that are up their affordability controls from when Brandon Farms was built. They are expiring. If we renew those deed restrictions, we get a credit for that. I'm also in communication with Ark Mercer. I think many of you have heard about their projects for several group homes in Hopewell Township, and that you get double credits per bedroom. So between the extension affordability controls and the group homes, I believe it will be less than 200 units that we will actually need to build. And we are committed this round to looking at 100% affordable projects, much like Project Freedom or Birchwood. And we'll look at all options for the fourth round. So we will work on the actual plan this spring. The first step this winter was to certify our number, and then we will work on the plan of how we were going to meet that number this spring. As for Bear Tavern, I can say the only thing that we have an impact with on the school district budget with the pilots, we have said over and over again that we are committed to paying part of the, at least part of the expansion at Bear Tavern that is due to growth. I know the trailers have been there since the 90s. Mr. Ruger, I believe your kids went to school in those trailers?
The trailers were there when my kids were little, that is correct.
So that is not a new issue at Bear Tavern. The district is in charge of districting. So if you said that there are way fewer students at Tollgate versus Bear Tavern, I can't speak to why that is or what the district should or can do about that. We had our joint demographic study years ago and have had an opportunity to plan for this. I think nothing's happened that was not expected. But I hear you. As some of you may know, there's a lawsuit from the boroughs on the pilot agreement. So it is currently on appeal. We're waiting for a decision from the appellate division. Once that is settled, or if we come to some kind of an agreement, we can talk about the actual numbers, but we have said over and over and over and over and over again, we are committed to using a substantial portion of the pilot to pay for improvements at Bear Tavern that have to do with growth. Everything else is the school district's responsibility and has been the school district's responsibility for years and years and years. The growth is, I understand it's change, it's growth. Maybe perhaps Mr. Kaczynski, you can talk about the open seats that were in the school district, because we had declining enrollment for many years in the school district, and now we are seeing that trend reverse. And then I know Mr. Tate, you want to add something.
I'm sensitive, to growth within the school system. I had 4 children who went through the district and got a great public education. I know others on the committee have also been there. The district enrollment peaked at over 4,100 students a number of years ago. We're currently below 3,500. And so the joint demographic study that we did, while there will be impacts, the projections of the demographer study that we did with the school district shows that they will be able to accommodate that growth within the existing infrastructure within Hopewell Valley. We think that's, number one, that's important. Number two, as the mayor has said, we collectively, we as a committee, believe that there are some improvements that need to be made at Bear Tavern. So we've worked collaboratively. Mr. Ruger is our liaison to the district. We've worked collaboratively to identify those needs. And we have been on the record, all five of us, that we will support, our contribution towards the improvements at Bear Tavern. And we're hopeful that we get through some of the ongoing discussions with the boroughs, but we are strong colleagues and collaborators with the school district. So I encourage you to keep bringing that up in front of us. And I think, though, we have a track record of supporting the schools and supporting what needs to get done on behalf of all of Hopewell Valley.
And Mr. Chait, I know you wanted to add something.
Yeah, and just, Ms. Gerger, I just firstly want to say thank you for bringing this to us, and just on a human level, and I know I speak for all of my colleagues up here, but as a Bear Tavern, father myself, where I have a fourth grader and a first grader, I hear you, and I understand, the concerns that you have, and understand as a parent when you see things, all of that. And so I, number one, want you to know that, absolutely you are heard on all of that. As my colleagues has mentioned, we have said, really since day one, that, we believe that there's a contribution to be made supporting some of the additions and accommodating some of the growth at Bear Tavern. And that has not changed. There's a litigation piece, as the mayor said, that relates to our ability to do that at the moment. But regardless of that, we have a deep relationship with the district, are constantly working with them. And with that demographer study that was 2 years ago, we've all been planning accordingly. I know for the things that are in the township's purview, when you think about infrastructure and growth, that has all been, part of the planning there. Cannot speak to the district, their decisions on where they drew the lines in districting and other things. We know they've had time to plan and we respect their decisions, but know that we are working with them in the things that are in our purview, and we hear you. And I think that's more important than anything else to know that we do.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll just end it by saying, when as the mayor said, when I moved here in 1998, Bear Tavern is just down the road from me. I was really surprised to see the trailers. We're now in the 21st century. The trailers are still there. It will be a very happy day for me when, hopefully the litigation is either resolved one way or the other, and we're able to move forward with helping the school fund the extension for the school.
Thank you. All right, so we're almost at the crossing guards. We just have one ordinance to do first.
I can give you a little bit of an update.
Okay.
On the bill. It's got two sponsors, both from North Jersey, Senator Bucco and Senator Corrado. It was introduced in the Senate on the 30th, so just a couple days ago, and it's been referred to the Community and Urban Affairs Committee. There is no sponsor in the Assembly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first, we have one ordinance on the agenda tonight. It is a calendar year 2025 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A:4-45.14. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Ms. Troutman.
Thank you. So this ordinance describes the appropriations or the spending side of our budget, which is called the in-cap, which generally represents the operation spendings of our departments, as well as medical and pension contributions and some other items. Every year the state allows a town to grow, and then they put that percentage out. This year the state announced a 2.5% growth over your prior year's cap. And then by passing this ordinance, we are giving ourselves the growth of 1% more on top of that 2.5. It's not a mandatory, we do not need to spend it, but without passing this ordinance, we do not give ourselves that extra ability to have growth, as well as this ordinance will allow us to bank or carry forward any unspent budgeting appropriations from prior years.
And we have this extra percentage point available because we did not spend up to the cap last year,
The
correct?
extra percentage is permitted from the state itself. It says you cannot go any higher than 3.5%
Okay.
in total maximum, but everyone is allowed to go up to 2.5. If you pass the ordinance, we are allowed the extra 1% of growth, as well as carrying the
Understood.
bank.
Thank you. And one question I've asked you in budget meetings is, this has nothing to do with revenue. So this really has nothing to do with whether it's going to raise taxes or anything, because we have growth in the township, which means our revenues are increasing as well as our spending is increasing. So the cap doesn't take into account the balance between revenue and spending. So you can't grow more than 3.5% even if you have gigantic revenues, correct?
Correct.
So that's why this is, for me, that's why this is important.
This is a spending cap.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Again, this is the first reading, so we will have a full public hearing at our next meeting should this pass tonight. So if there are no other questions or comments from the committee, roll call, please.
Committee Member Kaczynski?
Yes.
Committee Member Purandari?
Yes.
Committee Member Ruger?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Chait?
Yes.
Mayor Peters Manning?
Yes. And now what we've, sorry, go ahead.
I have to do my thing.
Yes, please.
The ordinance has been introduced on first reading and will be published in the newspaper. Second reading and public hearing date set for February 18th.
Thank you. I'm so excited to get to the next one. I almost jumped the gun. Okay, so thank you. First, we have a resolution authorizing part-time school crossing guards to the Township of Hopewell Police Department. This is a salary increase. I had a phone call from one of our crossing guards asking why they haven't had their hourly rate increase for several years. I brought it back to our committee at a budget meeting, and everyone agreed that we should raise the crossing guard salary to $25 an hour. So could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the committee before we vote? And I have pins, Hopewell Township pins, for all of the crossing guards that are here. I know several of them are in the audience. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Just thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Yep. And I'm glad that we're doing this tonight, so thank you.
Yes, and I'd like to read the names of our crossing guards. We have Joan Blackwell, Norman Feel, Rosemary Novak, Philip Papano, Carl Ripke, and Miriam Voorhees. So thank you all for your service to the committee, to the township, and to our kids. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? I know there won't be. Resolution passes. So please, we have pins for you. We'll come down here. Thank you so much. I have one for you. Thank you. We really like George Washington. It has a George Washington on it. And I think Mr. Chait has one. You have one? Thank you. Thank you so much. How are you? Thank you. Thanks.
Did you get it? There we go.
Everybody got one? And then there are two more, right? There's two more. They're not here.
Yeah, they're not here, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
very much.
Thank you all.
And thank you all for everything that you do.
Okay, where am I going? John.
All right, thank you all. Next, we have B, a resolution to authorize the Township of Hopewell to contract with the Borough of Pennington for police dispatching and emergency communication services for the year 2025. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Purandare. Mr. Snyder, I understand that we have ensured that this cost increase reflects the true cost increase that we as the township experience for our dispatchers every year.
That is correct, Mayor. The average dispatcher cost went up 6.2% from 2024 to 2025. So we're using that to calculate the new fee for this dispatcher shared service agreement.
Wonderful, thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Resolution passes. C, we have a resolution authorizing the Township of Hopewell to contract with the Township of Lawrence for child health care services for 2025. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Snyder.
This is an annual shared service agreement with Lawrence Township for child-led pain assessment and counseling. It's rarely used, but we have it in place just in case we need it.
Understood, thank you, it's important. Any questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Resolution passes. D, a resolution authorizing professional services agreement, River Valley Psycholegal Consulting, LLC. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Mr. Snyder.
It's a PSA for pre-employment and employee evaluations, not to exceed $5,000.
And then we do this every year, I believe.
Yes, that is correct, Mayor.
Okay, any questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Resolution passes. E, a resolution authorizing professional services agreement, Phoenix Advisors, a division of First Security Municipal Advisors, Inc. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second. Second. Mr. Snyder.
Phoenix Advisors is our financial advisor, provides financial advisor services, and these 3 PSAs are for SEC compliance, redevelopment project analysis, and financial service.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Resolution passes. F, a resolution of the Township of Hopewell in the County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, amending Resolution Number 25-30, authorizing the Township of Hopewell change order number 1 to the contract for bid for Pennington Rocky Hill Road improvements through the Earl Asphalt Company. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. And
And a
happy to
second.
see more savings.
Yes.
It's easy to approve a decrease. Mr. Snyder.
So the first resolution was for a change order decrease of $14,527.17, and we're correcting it to $18,798.14, an additional savings of $4,270.97.
Even better. Any questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Resolution passes. G, a resolution amending Resolution Number 23-314, correcting George Conley, title from Electrical Subcode Official to Plumbing Subcode Official. And I'm going to move this together with Resolution H, a resolution appointing George Conley as Electrical Subcode Official in the Municipal Construction Office. May I have a motion for both, please?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Snyder.
So Mr. Conley's hiring resolution stated that he was electrical subcode official, and he is the plumbing subcode official. So we're correcting that, and that way we could appoint him as electrical subcode official with a yearly stipend of $10,000 to fill in for the electrical subcode official who is retiring on March 31st.
Understood. So he originally, we have to correct his title, and then, because he previously wasn't doing both, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor for both?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? G and H pass. I, a resolution amending Resolution Number 24-159 for RFP Number 24-01 to Spiesel Architectural Group, Inc., for professional services for designing and planning the Senior Community Center in Hopewell Township. May I have a motion?
Move to move that.
And a second. Second. Mr. Snyder is glad this is continuing to move along.
Yes, we were moving forward. So these are additional environmental services outside the original scope of work with Spiesel. And I had a meeting with our grant administrator, and they said we could submit these for the grant. And the total work that they projected right now is $89,984. We have about another $10,000 for contingency.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Resolution passes. J, a resolution determining the form and other details of not exceeding $1,170,000 bond of the Township of Hopewell and the County of Mercer, New Jersey, and providing for their sale to the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank and the State of New Jersey, and further authorizing the execution of various agreements, all pursuant to the New Jersey Water Bank. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Ms. Troutman.
Thank you. So, geez, I think maybe back in 2019, we started a project at the Princeton Farms sewer system where there was an infiltration project, right? So, as you recall, over the past year and a half, we did some construction there. We did ordinances 2019, and then another one again in 2023, increasing the project with an ordinance saying not to exceed $1.17 million for this project. So then we went into those ordinances, gave us permission and allowed us to go out to the iBank and do short-term loans. The construction has completed on this project. It's now time to enter into the permanent financing phase of this project and go to the iBank to get the permanent funding for this project.
And this is paid for by the utility,
The
correct?
users of the
And it's a
utility.
preferential rate through the iBank.
I'm sorry?
It's preferential rate through the iBank? It's a preferential program to
Yes.
fund this, yes.
Yes. So there's a piece of the borrowing will be interest-free, and then another piece of it will be charged interest. But the bond rating will be at the iBank rating, which is over a 30-year program. So we don't have all the specifics of the details of this yet, but this resolution is giving myself permission, and it's granting permission to our bond counsel to proceed with the permanent financing.
The iBank is a good deal, so.
Yes.
That seems to make sense. Any questions or comments from the committee? Roll call, please.
Committee Member Kaczynski,
Yes.
Committee Member Purandare,
Yes.
Committee Member Ruger,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Chait,
Yes.
and Mayor Peters Manning.
Yes.
And that resolution passes.
Next, we have 2024 Budget Transfer Resolution Number 3. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Troutman again.
So this budget transfer is from the 2024 budget, and it's reallocating some unspent funds from various departments and shifting it over to the police salary and wage line.
Thank you. We have 6 new officers starting, so I have started and are going to the police academy this month, so appreciate that. Any questions or comments from the committee? Roll call, please.
Committee Member Kaczynski,
Yes.
Committee Member Purandare,
Yes.
Committee Member Ruger,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Chait,
Yes.
Mayor Peters Manning.
Yes.
And that resolution passes.
Next, we have a resolution of the Township of Hopewell, Mercer County, approving a developer's agreement with American Properties, Hopewell 2 LLC, for the development known as Heritage at Hopewell. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Snyder or Mr. Goodell?
I'll start off. This is a fairly standard development agreement and outlines the hours of work, permits, approval, stormwater requirements, and other terms and conditions.
Thank you. And Mr. Goodell, this has already been through legal review and review by our redevelopment engineer.
Yes, this is a condition of the approval of the planning board approvals. It ensures that when they build, they are following township protocols.
And this has already been approved by the planning board.
No, the project has been approved by the planning board.
Okay.
The developer's agreement gets approved by you.
That's what I meant, the project. Yeah, thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee?
We did receive some feedback. There was a member of our open space trails folks who were asking that we, the township, work with this developer, also the owners of the facility at ShopRite, to facilitate safe pedestrian access from the site over to the shopping center. I thought that was a reasonable request and something that we could work collaboratively. I don't think it's a condition of this resolution, but I'd like to ask Mr. Snyder if the committee is supportive that we engage to work towards that. I think we're trying to make all of our communities more walkable and bikeable at the park. We had required some trail connections to Woolsey Park and otherwise, and I think particularly with this being on Route 31, that would be in the public interest, and so I just want to bring that forward for the committee's attention this evening.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Abstain?
Resolution passes. Next, we have M, bills and claims. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Ms. Troutman?
I just wanted to point out that this bills and claims includes the county payment that would be coming up in February, due by the 15th, as well as a first installment to the fire district.
Thank you. Nothing else unusual. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Roll call, please.
Committee Member Kaczynski,
Yes.
Committee Member Purandare,
Yes.
Committee Member Ruger,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Chait,
Yes.
Mayor Peters Manning,
Yes.
and the bill resolution passes.
Thank you. Now we have our second public section of the evening, so if you'd like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name, same rules as last time, limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand and Ms. Fenton will call on you.
Yes, good evening, Jim Bird, Hopewell Township, and I didn't get an answer from you. I listened to what you said about the affordable housing situation and the points that you brought up, and I commend you for that. But what I asked you was this: will you, the members, elected members of Hopewell Township, contact our senator and our House of Representatives and contact them and say that you agree with the amendment and that you would like that to move on? And the other important thing that a couple things. Number one, I said something about tunnel vision, and that's exactly what you told me. As I sat there, I heard the tunnel vision on your part about what exactly is going on in Hopewell Township, but you're not thinking about all of all of the state of New Jersey. And that's a very important factor. The other important factor is this. Of course, all of you are from the same party. I'm an independent, but we need to have bipartisanship with this amendment. Without bipartisanship, it goes by the wayside. It has no impact and dies. Here is an opportunity. My question to you is, do you want to see the number of affordable housing units decrease, or do you want to see it increase? If you want to see it decrease, I think you should take the time, look this amendment over very, very carefully, and then contact our local state representatives and say that you do support this amendment. Because there's many other steps that have to take place. This is just one step. And I would like to hear every one of you tell me what your position is. Not just one person, not just the mayor. I want to hear everyone tell me. And I'd also like to find out if the attorney has told you about this. So with that, I step down, but I want to hear it from each individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening. I'm Suze Polinsky. Excuse me, sorry. I live in Hopewell Township. I also came here tonight after attending the school board meeting, and I know everyone here said that they're interested in supporting the school, and I'm super grateful for that. Not every community has that partnership. You also probably know that the referendum that failed was pretty contentious, and that I am very hopeful that we will go to referendum again. I hope that's what will happen in the coming year, because there is state money available to us if we do it that way, and it would be crazy for us to try and carry those burdens on our own. And the cap that we can move up every year in taxes wouldn't allow it. So I'm very hopeful that we'll go to referendum again, and to do that, the folks will need some clarity, right? Because this referendum went down hard last time, and we need to have a sense of what the numbers look like. And so while I recognize that the case that's going on with the mayors inhibits your ability to be clear, I think the time is now to say whatever you can about money. I'm grateful that Ms. Grogan spoke before me and perhaps more clearly than me, but the folks that showed up at that Bear Tavern meeting, there were about 50 of them. I go to a lot of school board meetings. That's not the number of people that usually come to a school board meeting. Folks are worried. I'm gonna get this number wrong. It's either 24 or 29 new folks, new kiddos have showed up at Bear Tavern during this school year. So while overall planning has been done and anticipated with the needs study, that's a lot to accommodate in a building, right, in the course of a school year, during the school year. So changes are coming fast. Our district is big enough that it is tricky to move little guys very far across district, and so redistricting can happen and can absorb some of that cost. But I'm very hopeful that you guys can put some number out there to help as we look at big numbers in the referendum. It would be really helpful to have more than more than handshake or smile and a nod. I think as folks who feel really worried about how much it will cost, try and make a decision about whether to vote yes or no on a referendum. So I'm grateful to all of you for the support that you give to the community and the schools, and I hope that if there's any clarity you can give, that you'll do that in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Is there anyone on Zoom, Ms. Van Newman?
No one's raising their hand, Mayor.
Okay, with that, I will close the public comment section. And Mr. Byrd, all I can say is that we are aware of this legislation. We're monitoring it as it moves through the legislature. We were all elected to represent the people of Hopewell Township, so I think rightfully that is our focus. We have been working on our number and our plan, and that is what we will continue to be our focus. Ms. Polinsky, I understand your comment, and thank you for being here. I said at the beginning of the meeting, and we all sort of chimed in, we are committed to funding the improvements at Bear Tavern. We are just waiting for the litigation to be over. That is unfortunately outside of our control. Mr. Goodell, when was that case argued in front of the appellate division? October?
It was argued first week in October.
October. So we're just waiting for that decision. Once that decision comes down, I think we've all said we're committed to it. I don't know what else to tell you. I understand that I think it was 29 new students is a lot in the middle of the year, but I would like to say that this is part of our new neighborhoods, our affordable housing obligation, and I just want to make sure that we also, as we're talking about how we're going to fund these improvements, are mindful of these are kids, and that we welcome them to our district, and that we talk about it like an opportunity rather than this is only a burden on our community. As Mr. Chait mentioned, we had the demographic study. We have been planning. We have hired new police officers. We're talking about a new fire station. We have planned for years about how we can impact or how we can mitigate the impacts and plan for the impacts that the Township Committee has under our control. A lot of that is under the control of the school district, and we are committed to funding that portion. I think that's all we can say at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add one thing. I mean, we have asked the district for specific numbers, and so we are going through those numbers for Bear Tavern, so it's not just a theoretical exercise, but as the mayor said, we need to get through the litigation before we can take formal action. But you've heard it, and I think we're all reasonable people. We're committed. If we say we're going to do something, we're committed to those improvements towards Bear Tavern. We understand that we don't want to hold any kids hostage over things that are going on within the valley, and so we hear you loud and clear. And we, I know there have been ongoing discussions to resolve things so that we can move forward, and I'm hopeful we can do that this year. I wish the law moved faster.
Yeah.
The other thing, speaking of just the law that I'll speak to, a number of us have spoken to the legislature about affordable housing. I've testified, the mayor has testified. We have supported numerous bills over the years. I have spoken to both of our assembly representatives about the need for sensible affordable housing reform. We all went to the hearings at the League of Municipalities to understand what we as committee members could do to both influence the numbers and influence the process. And so we are acting on that now. Thank you for the feedback, Mr. Byrd. We did move the number down, and we are being very aggressive on the other steps we can take to mitigate the impact on our community. I feel sometimes we've talked until we're blue in the face. That doesn't mean we stop talking about it. But I've talked to members of both sides of the aisle, to your point. I've talked to, when we had a Republican governor, I've talked to our Democratic governor, and really said that we need common sense reform on affordable housing. We're going to still be welcoming. We're going to do our constitutional obligation. I'd like to see more movement in that. And I can't speak, I'm not in the legislature, so I can't speak to the odds on this particular bill, but I, for one, would like to see movement on this issue.
Thank you.
Actually, no, I just wanted to say to Ms. Polinsky, I really look forward to the day when the litigation is settled and we can give you and others firm numbers. I mean, it is personally frustrating to me that I cannot give you a better answer tonight, but I just feel that I can't until we know what the litigation, how that ends. Like I said earlier, I want the new wing. I want, the trailers to be gone at some point. I think our community deserves it. And so that's why, every conversation I've had with Dr. Treese, members of the school board, I have said how much, I and the members of the committee want to be able to do this.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee? So with that, we have 3 executive session topics tonight: litigation, real estate, and personnel. So could I have a motion, please, to go into executive?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Whereas it is necessary for the Township Committee to discuss real estate, legal, contract negotiations, and/or personnel matters, and whereas NJSA 10:4-12 permits the Township Committee to conduct a meeting from which the public is excluded in order to discuss such matters, and whereas the time, when, and circumstances under which discussion conducted in executive session may be disclosed to the public is when appropriate, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hopewell, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, that the Township Committee shall forthwith conduct an executive session to discuss the above. Again, the topics are litigation, real estate, and personnel. Be it further resolved that the scope of the aforesaid executive session will be limited to the above matters as stated. Thank you. We're in executive.